Hey, Dr. Carp here, and this is the Dirty Dozen Endocrine Disruptors list from the Environmental Working Group, or EWG.org. Incredible organization, worth your support, and definitely you need to be on their newsletter. You need to visit their site when you're buying new products around your home to make sure that they are clean, and we'll go into the reasons why in these 12 endocrine disruptors, which are basically chemicals that disrupt your endocrine system, your thyroid, your sex hormones, your blood sugar hormones, like even the way you handle stress. All these things can affect your body in different ways. They can lead to things down the road, like the inability to lose weight, brain fog, energy level, all kinds of things. So there's a lot to go through, so let's jump into natural. These are minerals that all of you have heard of: lead, mercury, and arsenic. But it's important to know that beyond sort of the toxic effects that we're aware of, in terms of mercury being, heavy metal poisoning, lead can actually affect your sex hormones. It can lower your sex hormones. It can affect what's called the hypothalamus pituitary axis, which can affect the way your body handles stress, affects blood sugar, and is found in paint and water. And one of the things we'll discuss, and this will be a recurring theme in this lecture, is that you need to be certain that your water is clean. And you can do that by finding a good water filter. And you can find that list at Environmental Working Group, where they'll go through different water filters. The best one, of course, is what's called reverse osmosis. And that is probably the best way of cleaning your water. You can buy an under the sink system. And they also have countertop systems as well. Mercury, of course, is found in seafood. And the larger the fish, of course, the more mercury you get. Just 1 or 2 cans of tuna per week can raise your mercury to a high level. And the smaller the fish, the less the mercury. So things like sardines and herring and anchovies are totally fine. But when you get to bigger fish, there are mercury problems. Arsenic, which can affect the glucocorticoid system, which is basically the way you handle stress, but can also affect your blood sugar. And this is found in water and rice, and brown rice has more than white rice. The next is industrial chemicals. First is dioxin, which is found from industrial processes and found mostly in the fat of animal products. And as we discussed in a previous lecture, the fat is the area of the animal that stores the toxins. And so if it's raised in a toxic environment, you're going to have a lot of toxins in there. That's why it's important, if you're eating animal products, to make sure that you're getting incredibly clean sources from a farm that you know. And that's super important because it can affect male and female hormone signaling in your body. And we want to make sure that we're not getting other toxins. These are just the top 12, but there are other toxins that accumulate in the fat of animals. And we're talking about milk and cheese as well as the fat that's in an animal that comes with meats. Next is perchlorate, which is unbelievably rocket fuel, and it's all over the place. And it competes with iodine, which means that you're going to have improper functioning of your thyroid. And so this is most common in water. As you can see, we're getting a recurring theme here. Next is fire retardants. Unfortunately, there's not much you can do about this, but it does affect thyroid function. You can buy a HEPA air filter. That does wonders. And I know in Japan, when you go to a lot of hotels, they have these HEPA air filters right in the hotel room. But if you're doing a lot of vacuuming, it's found in toxic dust in almost everybody's place. So you can get a HEPA filter so that as you're vacuuming, you're not getting it in the air. Next is further industrial chemicals. The next is perfluorinated chemicals. And this is nonstick cookware. It actually affects thyroid and sex hormones. So you want to avoid nonstick pans, as well as stain and water-resistant coatings on clothing, furniture, and carpets, but basically just avoid as best you can, nonstick cookware. And what can you use? Well, you can use ceramic. There's ceramic pots. There's good old-fashioned cast iron pots. There's stainless steel. They may not be as nonstick as these nonstick chemicals that are used, but you're better off. Next is glycol ethers, and these are solvents in paints, cleaning products, brake fluids, cosmetics. It shrinks the testicles in rats. That's disgusting. And you can avoid this by going to Environmental Working Group and looking at their approved list of cleaners to make sure that these are gone. Now, BPA, or bisphenol A, which is something you may have heard of, is basically found in cans. So if you want to look, if you're going to be eating canned food, then canned beans or whatever, you want to make sure that it's a BPA-free can. And it's also found in thermal receipts. So those, you go to the grocery store and they give you the receipt, it's got it in there as well. So you want to avoid that because, I mean, it's crazy, but when you take those receipts and you crinkle them up and throw them away, you've just been exposed to an enormous amount of BPA. And this is actually a synthetic hormone. We don't need any extra hormones because these are going to interfere with the hormones that we have. It's a mess. So you want to avoid this at all costs. Now, we've gone through a lot already. We have more to go, but I again want to remind everybody that it's up to you to be your own authority in health, and you need to decide what you're going to do with all these things. But the point that I want to stress is that 20%, that 80-20 rule, that there are some people here that these don't have any effect on, but there are other people who are struggling with, undetermined complaints or inability to lose weight, and there are some people out there that this has a significant effect on. And so I just want to stress that point. Next is plastics and pesticides. Phthalates kill testicular cells. They have been reported to change your hormones, be linked to obesity, diabetes, thyroid irregularities. Best way to avoid this is to avoid fragrances. Keep in mind that if it says unscented, it doesn't mean that it's fragrance free. Sometimes they use fragrances on top of fragrances to create an unscented, they mask fragrances to get rid of smell. So you want to look for unscented, you want to look for fragrance-free things, and you want to avoid plastic food containers if possible, and plastics. You want to, at the bottom of all plastics, there's a number. You want to make sure it doesn't have the number 3. And if you want to find skincare products that avoid this, then you want to go to the Environmental Working Group. Surprise. They have a list of skincare products that don't have phthalates in them. Next is atrazine, which is an herbicide which actually turns male frogs into female frogs, and it's used in cornfields and it's in the water. So get yourself a water filter. Important. Go to EWG again and you'll see, if you don't know what kind of water filter to get, I recommend reverse osmosis, but if that's too expensive, there are other filters that are less expensive that can still do well. Next is organophosphate pesticides, and these were invented by the Nazis as a chemical warfare agent, but have been used or sort of manipulated by American scientists to create chemicals that are pesticides, and this affects testosterone signaling, alters thyroid hormone, and because it's a pesticide, you want to buy organic produce or go and see which produce has the lowest levels of pesticides. Every year there's a list published by numerous people, but EWG has one as well that talks about the produce that you don't have to buy organic because it's low in pesticides. Another thing to remember, that sometimes organic produce may have by accident been packed with non-organic at the store or whatever, and so you need to wash your vegetables and fruits as best as you can. And that, my friends, is the Dirty Dozen Endocrine Disruptors from the Environmental Working Group. I hope you enjoyed this video. As I stated twice in this video, not everyone is going to be affected by these things, but there are people who are. I've seen them in my practice, and by making small changes, sometimes these can lead to big effects, especially if you're trying to lose weight and you're having trouble. One of these could potentially be just messing up your hormonal system just a little bit that can be affecting things. So this is Dr. Carp. Stay tuned for my next video. Have a good day.